My name is Crystal. And for a long time I believed in happy endings. I met James when we were both young and broke. He had dreams bigger than our small apartment, and I loved how he talked about the future. One day, he said, we'll have everything we've ever wanted. I believed him completely. While he worked late nights trying to build his business, I worked double shifts just to keep us going. Bills, rent, food. I handled everything so he could chase his dreams. I never complained. I was proud of him. Proud to be part of his journey. The day his company finally took off, we celebrated with instant noodles and candles. It was silly, but it was ours. That night, he looked me in the eyes and said, "None of this would have happened without you." But slowly, everything changed. He started coming home later, spending more time at parties, on business trips, surrounded by people I didn't know. The man who once held my hand during thunderstorms now barely looked me in the eye. And I kept telling myself, he's just busy. He still loves me. He just needs time. But the truth was coming, and it was going to break me. I never expected that someone I had lifted up would be the same person who left me at my lowest. If you've ever loved someone who changed when success arrived, this story is for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The next part might just feel a little too familiar. At first I blamed the stress. His calls became shorter. His smile faded, and the warmth in his voice was replaced with cold, empty words. "I'm busy," he would say. "You don't understand how much pressure I'm under." But I did understand. I had been there since the beginning, when we had nothing but cheap coffee and big dreams. Then came the gifts. Expensive clothes, perfumes, even a necklace I never asked for. I should have been happy, but something about it felt wrong. It was like he was buying silence, buying distance. We stopped talking about our plans. He stopped asking how my day was. And one night he didn't come home. He called the next morning with a voice full of excuses. I didn't argue, just listened. But inside something cracked. I could feel it. Our love, what we built, was slipping through my hands like sand. One evening I made his favorite dinner. The kind I used to cook when we were struggling. I waited at the table for hours. The food got cold. He never came. I stared at the empty chair across from me and whispered, "Where did you go, James?" It wasn't just about the money. It was the way he stopped seeing me. I had been his partner, his support, his family. Now I felt like a stranger in my own home. And the scariest part, he seemed okay with it. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I remember because it had rained all day, and the sky outside was gray, heavy, just like my heart. James had left his phone on the kitchen counter. He never did that. For a moment I stared at it, unsure. I wasn't the type to invade his privacy. But something had been screaming inside me for weeks. Something's wrong. And then it lit up. Message. Can't wait to see you tonight. My hands went cold. I opened the chat. Dozens of messages. Flirty. Familiar. Intimate. Not from me. Not for me. My knees gave out and I sat on the floor, clutching that phone like it had just punched me in the stomach. My breath was short. My chest tight. He was cheating. After everything. After all the years, the nights I waited, the sacrifices. I wasn't enough anymore. I didn't cry right away. I was too numb for that. I just sat there reading every word, every lie. The worst part. He had been careful, quiet, like he had been planning this for a long time. When he walked in that evening, soaked from the rain, I didn't say a word. I just looked at him, really looked. His smile faded. He knew. All I said was, "You should go." And he did. No fight. No apology. No goodbye. Just like that, the man I had believed in walked out of our home, of our life. And for the first time in years, I was alone. But something was starting to grow in that silence. Not hate, not revenge, but strength. After he left, the silence was unbearable. Every corner of the house echoed with his absence. His clothes were gone. His cologne still lingered in the air. I sat on the bed we once shared and stared at the empty space beside me, wondering how everything had changed so fast. For days I moved like a ghost, mechanically washing dishes, making coffee, folding sheets, trying to fill the void with routine. But pain doesn't disappear just because you keep busy. It lingers. And some nights it crushed me. I'd cry without sound, afraid that if I started sobbing I might never stop. And yet something inside me refused to break. One morning I woke up earlier than usual. I looked at myself in the mirror, really looked. My face was tired. My eyes were swollen. But beneath all that, there was someone still standing. I remembered who I was before James. Before the dinners, the debts, the lies. I was Crystal. Had dreams too. Had strength too. Somewhere along the way I had forgotten that. That day I made a list. Not of things to fix or bills to pay. I wrote down everything I loved. Music. Writing. Sunsets. The smell of fresh bread. The sound of rain on the window. None of it cost money. All of it made me feel alive. I realized I had been waiting for someone else to give my life meaning. But maybe it was time I started creating it for myself. It didn't happen overnight. Healing is slow. But each day I claimed a little more space in my own story. I lit candles. I danced in the kitchen. I sat alone in cafes without feeling ashamed. And slowly I stopped asking why he left, and started asking why I had stayed so long. I wasn't the same woman anymore. I wasn't his wife. I wasn't someone's support system. It was me. And that was enough. With each passing week, I began to feel lighter. Not because the pain disappeared, it didn't, but because I stopped letting it control me. I went back to work with a new energy. People noticed. Friends I hadn't seen in months invited me out. Said yes. For the first time in a long time I wasn't just existing, I was participating. I redecorated the apartment. I took down the photos. I gave away the things that no longer felt like mine. It wasn't about erasing the past. It was about making space for the future. My future. I started saving money again. Nothing huge, just enough to feel in control. I signed up for a writing course, something I had always dreamed of but never pursued. I walked into that classroom nervous, unsure if I still had anything to say. But when I put pen to paper, it all came rushing out. My story, my truth, my voice. I wasn't writing about him. I was writing about me. And it felt like freedom. One afternoon, as I sat at my favorite coffee shop, sipping tea and editing my latest piece, I saw James through the window. He looked different. Tired. He walked in, hesitated when he saw me, and then sat at a table nearby. For a few minutes we exchanged glances, but no words. He didn't approach me. I didn't invite him. And strangely, I didn't feel pain. Not anymore. He was part of a chapter that had ended, and I was already writing the next one. That day I walked home with a smile. Not because I had proven anything. Not because I had won. But because I had survived. I had rebuilt myself from the ruins. And I had done it alone. There are moments in life when you realize the person you needed the most was the one you became. I used to think my strength came from loving someone else. From giving. From sacrificing. But now I see clearly my strength was always mine. Just needed silence to grow. Being left was the most painful thing I had ever experienced. But it was also the moment I finally met myself. I stopped waiting to be chosen. I stopped measuring my worth by someone else's attention. And I started listening to the quiet voice inside me that had been ignored for too long. She was hurt, yes, but she was still standing, still breathing, still hoping. I still remember the nights I cried myself to sleep. But I also remember the first time I laughed again. The first time I looked in the mirror and didn't see a victim. I saw a survivor, creator, a woman with her own story. I found beauty in solitude, power in routine, magic in rebuilding. So if you're listening to this and you've ever been left behind, by a partner, a friend, or even by your own dreams, I want you to know something. You're not broken. You're becoming. Hurts. But you're growing in ways you can't yet see. And maybe one day you'll look back just like I am now. You'll smile at the person you used to be. And you'll whisper, "Thank you for not giving up." If this story touched your heart, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell me, what part of this story felt like your own? And if you haven't yet liked this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who might need these words today. You're not alone. And your next chapter is just beginning.